Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fans of the sport alike, come one and come all, because today I have for you the nectar of innovation, the creative king. It's, of course, the Nostradamus. Woo! Yay! The crowd goes wild. I received a lovely message this morning. It's always a treat whenever I see this man's name pop up in my inbox. This one was sent to me on the email server, the Brightworks Replays, worksreplays at gmail.com. One way you can send your replays on over. Typically, nowadays, I encourage people to send them on over to the Discord channel, which I will have a link to down below in the description, but that is always an alternative in case you don't have Discord or you just find it a little more convenient that way. But let's talk about this player, shall we? Nostradamus, infamous for his killer strategies, of course, making his debut appearance with the maneuver named so lovingly after him, the multi-T2 Armada transport beamer drop shenanigans. It's a wild one, but today apparently we've got something else cooking up in the pot. And I will note that this is not in a low-rank lobby. Some of the people complain, and it's a valid complaint, that a lot of the times when you see a Nostradamus maneuver pulled off, it'll be in a lobby with 15, 18, 20 true skill players. But fear not, ladies and gentlemen, because today we have up to 44 true skill players playing in this lobby. This is as of recording this is after the change to the chevrons, so I'm going to go off a true skill here. Chevrons indicating now just the total amount of time you put into the game, which is of course very important, but does not always indicate exactly where your skill level is at the time being. So let's meet our red team leader. It is not Nostradamus, in fact, it is going to be Markiv. Markiv, our red team leader. We've seen him on the channel a couple of times, and I'm excited to see what there is cooking up in the backline here. Markiv in the red team's air position here. Don't mind that whatsoever. He's also gone for Cortex, which means that we're probably going to see those early shurikens and maybe even some light aggression from some of those better Stormbringer bombers. Is that what those are called? No, sorry, Whirlwind bombers. Using the transport here to lift the commander and move it around, claiming these metal extractors just a little bit quicker. But every single second counts when you're in these high-level games. Spawning all the way across the map in the beachhead position here, representing the blue team, it's going to be Amir. And Amir has already got a lab down in the water, has built those 3 metal extractors, as well as a whole host of wind turbines covered by a light laser tower. It's very nice in case there's a little bit of a run-by, although, that being said, it does leave a little bit of a challenge for this laser turret to shoot between the windmills here if a hovercraft or maybe even a couple of ticks or rovers manage to sneak in from the front line. So we'll just have to see how that laser tower does. Now, Amir has gone for Cortex here in the water, and that's really nice. I love going Cortex on this position because you get those units out so much quicker, and if you get a missile ship over here, which Amir already has on the way, it's going to be able to shut down essentially any expansion that your opponent wants to go for here. Zamo Guitar is going to be the opponent to speak of, representing the red team in hot pink going into the beachhead position. Or the sea lane position, rather. This is the beachhead position right here, and this is the sea lane position right over here. These are not official terms. This is just the words that I try to consistently use for, clarity, I suppose. Vehicles on the front line, that shouldn't surprise anybody. Supreme Straits, of course, is the map that also shouldn't surprise anybody. Very, very common that we play on this. I just finished up a 70-minute long game of my own. What a smackdown. Left me heaving and huffing and tired as all hell. Now this is interesting. All right. Wow. Okay. Some tricky stuff here. Hold on. I'm going to pause the game here to explain what on earth I'm looking at right now. So we have Maverick, who is playing over here. Okay. And we also have Raven, who is playing in the backline, both of which are transporting commanders over to the island of the red team. They've come all the way across the sea, just like that. And they are now dropping down a constructor to start up not a T1, but a T2 lab. I'm really scared about this. I think this could do a lot of damage, but it really, really requires a tremendous amount of coordination here. We need to see this T2 lab come up very, very quickly. I mean, this could be dangerous. WTF is called. Amir, confused as all hell by these plays. This is quite strange. Not gonna lie to you. It's quite strange indeed. They're gonna steal the geothermal. I was wondering, I was about to say this is a big problem you're gonna run into here is the fact that you don't have any energy to power any of this. However, in this case, going for the geothermal here is actually going to get you all the energy that you need. Very, very nicely done. Now, I do think we need a jammer up here so that we don't get accidentally detected by radar. Looks like we didn't see it yet. Oh, we're about to find it. All right, it is scouted. In fact, the entire shenanigan is scouted. T2, everything is found up here. The entire red team moves their cursors over here to try and figure out what the hell is going on. Geothermal plant does come up in time, and it is going to be Maverick and Raven leading the charge with some very, very cheeky build orders here. Eating up the air lab back here means there's essentially no commitment. I wouldn't mind seeing maybe go for a construction turret or two back there, but still, that's just going to be more metal that you really want to be putting into this lab here. A lab which is about to come up, yeah. All right, T2 lab is up. 5 minutes into the game. This is usually when we see the backline players starting their T2 labs. No, we have a T2 lab already up and running in the backlines here of the red team. Well, sort of the backlines. I mean, it's not really in the backlines, but it is way further back than you'd expect it to be. Ender OS1 is trying to move his commander in there. I thought we were going to be focusing on Nostradamus this entire time, who is going into windmills, and some more windmills. What on earth are we to do about this? We need some way of dealing with commanders for the blue team here, and the the red team's talking about a rainbow coming towards each other, trying to figure out the easiest way to push forward here and do a little bit of damage. Oh, I'd love to see a commander sacrifice here. If we sacrifice this commander and take out 2 commanders, it'll be well worth it. That being said, of course, you're going to be in a tricky position here if you end up exploding, and then suddenly you've just got a lot of commanders left. Oh, all right. Well, that's a solution. That's a solution to that whole shenanigan. It cost 3 commanders from the red team, but they netted a benefit of 2 commanders from the blue team. All said and done, that's actually a positive trade for the red team. Massive commander chain reaction right there. That is, what would that be? Wow, 6,000 metal lying on the floor right there all of a sudden. It does take a bunch of commanders out of action, though, so that will shake things up a little bit here. No longer will those commanders be on the front lines and able to help if the commanders get sniped off of the front line. So if Trollosis is removed from the game, or if Hapetus is removed as well, yeah, there's actually not a lot to de-gun down, say a massive medium tank push or something of that account. Bar Toxic is eating up all this metal and hopefully going to be overflowing a whole lot of it to his team. He's going right up to T2, and I think that's definitely the right idea here. Especially considering just how potent those T2 or T2 Cortex bots can be. Sheldons particularly, but also Scuttles are very, very powerful, and Sumos are the other thing that comes to... Oh, Fiends, that's right. I knew I was forgetting one. I was like, there's another unit that everyone builds, and I can't remember it at the moment, but yeah, it's going to be the Fiend. Nostradamus going into a crazy amount of energy converters and wind turbines here. He's got 4 constructors, each building a row of wind turbines. This is crazy economy right now. Trying to just scale up the economy with T1 instead of T2. Just, I guess, using T1 instead of T2 to go up to a decent metal supply. But I wonder if this is really worth it. I mean, how many constructors do we have out at this point? Should give us a decent look here. About 24 constructors, all said and done. Yeah, that's I mean, that's a lot of build power you've got right there. Interesting to see. Front line is in quite a lot of danger. The light pink player Hapetus has, or Hapetus, or maybe Hapetus? We'll go with Hapetus. Yeah, Hapetus. Doesn't have the commander on the front line was the point I was trying to make here. And you can see that it's actually costing the red team quite dearly. They are going to have to give up this position here. Artillery is going to rain down on this T1 laser tower, this light laser tower, and Janissers are going to pick apart anything else that they could find with those heavy rockets. Those heavy light rockets. They're very good at T1, and then they're decent at T2, and then they're just essentially ineffective after you get to T3. Mustard here will get his lab shut down by a whole bunch of dolphins here. Didn't build nearly enough static defense, and so those dolphins are going to get an easy pick off on that commander. And the green player here, I fear, is going to be forced out of the water. Yeah, not really any way to stay and fight this, especially with this destroyer already melting away your units from long range here. That's very, very annoying to deal with. This is exactly what I was talking about. The medium tanks are starting to roll through, and when those start coming, the only thing that can really shut that down tremendously efficiently is going to be the commander. Now, Habetus is moving his commander into position here, and he does have the killer D-gun. He has to sacrifice his own metal extractor for it. There we go. Excellent D-gun there. Catches all 3 of them. Doesn't even have to kill the metal extractor. That was exactly what we're looking for. I think Eternal Resign, or Eternal Reign rather, Eternal Resign works too. I think you should definitely be looking to kill that commander, if not even a commander sacrifice here. I know it sounds a bit strange, but if you sacrifice your commander to kill them, but then you have enough units to reinforce, you effectively have map control, and I think if both of these commanders fall, yeah, that's going to be just too many, and the red team isn't going to have enough in order to reinforce and hold the front line. Interesting. This is a very, very interesting play. Yeah, I mean, at this point, Raven is forced to backpedal here and has to rebuild on the backlines. Not much economy to speak of here, wasting a lot of energy, so I'd love to see, well, not a lot of energy, but wasting some of his energy, so I'd love to see an energy converter go down. But trying to step up to those T2 metal extractors is also a good move, so it's a difficult call. Nostradamus going up to a whole bunch of T2 metal extractors here, using that T1 energy to leverage himself cleanly into T2. Swiftly into T2, even. Yeah, that is quite nice. Is it any faster than going regular T2? I mean, he kept his commander around, so I guess that's nice. He also now has 3,000 energy coming in per second here, whereas normally you'd have about 500. So, yeah, I think all said and done, that is probably actually a slightly better way of teching up here. It does mean that he techs up a little bit slower, but I mean, after a start like that, that's not really the problem, and especially if you're in the back line. I don't know. I'm trying to do the math in my head at where you'd be at 10 minutes if you had already gotten T2. I mean, I think the metal extractors would have been up a little sooner, but also you wouldn't have the several thousand metal coming in per second. And we can't forget that Nostradamus does have a bank of 3,000 metal that he's just sitting on right now, meaning that this constructor boy here is going to be able to go into a advanced fusion reactor, or maybe just a regular fusion reactor, but certainly a couple of those T2 energy converters, just to get a slightly more efficient energy conversion. What an interesting change of strategies there. I'll have to try this one out. It's one of those things that I feel like I'm not going to be able to make it justificated, or not going to be able to justify an opinion on until I give it a try, because I just can't do the math in my head right now. Too many thousands of numbers. Sheldon's over here, lobbing their projectiles out of their left arms, trying to burst down whatever they can find here. Janus is jumping on top of them, and those Januses will take a decent trade against Sheldon's. They don't one-hit them, but they certainly two-hit them, and that's all you really need. As long as they die, it doesn't really matter how. Yeah, this front line is completely collapsed. Commander did go down, by the way. Trolossus' commander fell at the front lines, and that's what I'm talking about. The front line is so weak right now, so fragile, because of those commander shenanigans that took out 3 commanders. It might have given them quite a metal boost, so they were able to go up to T2, but it meant that their front line was so shaky. So it's really a position that you have to capitalize on immediately, otherwise I think you just lose the advantage. And for what it's worth, I think the blue team is doing a great job of that. And this is annoying. A bunch of medium tanks harassing these commanders over here. Gonna force them to get a little cheeky with it. Not great D-guns. Ooh, Eternal Reign in a lot of trouble, actually. Oh, yep. Nice little D-gun there, but the final shot from that tank will kill that commander, bringing it down, relieving a tiny amount of pressure from the front lines here of the red team. With the tank push completely cleaned up over here, I think this is probably going to allow the red team to stabilize. And now I think they're in a much better position here. You can see as far as metal goes, they're about 100 metal up, more or less, depending on reclaim. They can go even higher. Now those T2 units are streaming out at a pace from the Nostradamus backline over here. You can see those advanced energy converters humming away quite peacefully. There's still quite a lot of T1 energy converters that are still active and available, which is probably a signal that the T2 energy converters are viable. At the very least, we could go for a few more of them. It does fluctuate with the wind power, though, of course. Amir has moved his commander over to this beachhead, built a light laser tower, and that is going to very, well, slowly but surely whittle down this geothermal. It's a funny way of doing that, but it is quite effective. You can also build with the constructor over there. Don't have to use the commander. You can just use a regular constructor that you bring along to the beach over here. Or a naval constructor that you just park out in the ocean. Either one will work just fine. Mauser taking a very nice trade against a lot of these hounds right here. Hounds not really meant to be used as a assault bot, and especially not when they're going up against proper assault bots like this bull, like this fiend right here. Love, by the way, that we're microing this T2 constructor so that we can build here without having to lose it. I think that's Trolossus' last commander, or last constructor rather. Reduced to a single constructor. Never a good fate. Advanced fusion reactor coming up here from Arkiv. Nostradamus just going into more and more build power over here. upgrading all that, handing out power to his teammates as it is necessary, and deciding to go up into an advanced fusion reactor. Probably not a bad idea, especially since the wind power was dipping right there, but you can see just a slight shift in the wind from 1 to 7 means that he's making an extra 1,000 or so energy per second. I mean, if you get stuck on 1 energy, I feel like this strategy falls apart very, very quickly. You also probably need quite a few energy storages, I would imagine. Do these work as energy storage? They do not. Wouldn't even mind seeing 2 or 3 energy storages just to help buffer that overwhelming wind production when it's high and that crazy lack of wind production when it's real low. Orange has handily won the naval theater in the Southern Sea here. Wonder what kind of advantage he's going to capitalize on here. Can go into T2, get those missile ships out, can go into amphibious units. Looks like T2 is going to be the name of the game. Don't mind it whatsoever, but you can get carried away investing too much resources into T2 Navy when you've already won the sea and find yourself in a predicament where suddenly you're not able to invest quite as heavily on the land-based front because you've just got several thousand metal tied up in the ocean and no real way to effectively use it for anything. Northern Sea has been juxtaposedly won by Emir here. Emir choosing to go into T2 as well, but getting those advanced metal extractors up and running first and foremost. Definitely like to see that. Looks like that is what Cascade is going to be worrying about as well. Already, of course, having the land-based T2 metal extractors upgraded. That should be your very first order of business. Wouldn't even mind seeing some more proper land-based economy, though. It is slightly more... It's not more efficient, it's just a faster exponential gain. You gain speed, you gain momentum building economy with the land-based infrastructure a lot quicker than you do with the naval infrastructure. That being said, the tidal power is 21 here, which means that you are more efficient going for tidal generators than solar panels. So what I'd love to see is a lot of these Voyagers here just going out and building massive solar or tidal generators. Just, I mean, cover the sea in tidal power, and you're going to be pulling back quite a lot. Alright, Nostradamus going up to quite a few of these energy converters over here, getting 1 construction tower working on each of them so that he doesn't tax his economy too heavily while he goes up to another advanced fusion reactor. That's actually quite nice, because sometimes you can dump quite a lot more energy than you mean to into these energy converters that you're building, and then suddenly you find yourself in a predicament where you're out of energy, which means you aren't producing metal, which means you aren't producing anything else. It's a tricky situation. Nice micromanaging back here. It's what we've come to expect from Nostradamus, right? Looks like there's less T1 constructors than there was before. I wonder if he ate some of them up or maybe just handed them out to his teammates. Would love to see some handed over to poor Trollosis, who has lost everything. He is a humble man. It would be very kind to hand him over a metal extractor or something. We did miss a metal extractor right here. Not the end of the world, but certainly don't want to, I mean, by the end of the game, that's at least a couple hundred metal, if not a couple thousand metal that you could have had in your back pocket at any given time. The earlier, of course, you use that metal, the earlier it cascades into more and more metal. That's how exponential growth works, I'm sure you're aware. We like our graphs to look like this, not like this. Missile ships raining down on the geothermal. This is well to be expected if you lose this sea. That's why I hate playing in this position right here, because there's good odds that this player right here loses the sea. It's just a very difficult position to win sea from. It's actually fairly surprising if you're able to win sea from here. People are just getting so good at playing sea on this side that it's really, really easy to lose sea right here, and then, yeah, you're going to be in a tricky position. That's of course because of the missile ships, right? You park a missile ship here, you're able to rain down on this base, you're able to rain down on this base. There's a lot of damage you can do once you have naval control over here. And it looks like our orange player is more than happy to take advantage of that control and use it to their leverage. Missile ships over here doing exactly that. You can see that there's a effective field of nothing right here, highlighting exactly where those missile ships are able to fire away at. Bartoxic going into quite a lot of wind turbines. Not quite as many as Nostradamus, but Nostradamus already has his fusion reactors up and running, going for tons and tons of build power as well. He's producing, at this point, a solid 180-ish metal per second and 11,000 energy. I feel like that number's only going to climb, though, as comparatively in the backline here for the blue team here, our green player, I guess, is going to be the economy. Only barely starting up his first fusion reactor. And I wouldn't mind seeing this T2 Air Lab or T1, well, both of those, frankly, eaten up to convert into a advanced fusion reactor here. Just going to speed things up a little bit. Looks like that was the case for, oh no, sorry, Raven was the player who funded everything over on the other side of the map, so this is actually just raw economies climbing right now. And yeah, you can see it's not very tremendous. I think those wind turbines really do offer something special. We are building on the scale of aphises per minute here. And third one is about to come online, and all of that build power is just going to switch on over to this other advanced fusion reactor, meaning that that is going to come up very, very quickly as well. You can see microing the construction turrets here. Not exactly the action that we usually come to expect, but certainly very APM intensive, placing these all down with a single constructor. It's very, very difficult to manage all the time. Front lines have become semi-stagnant here as Uyap has gotten quite a lot of static defense here. We have pit bulls, we have lightning turrets coming up here, we have a rattlesnake, which is quite good for shelling away at these units. And for some reason or another, all of them have gone for a swim. I guess it's the pool party episode, and the yellow units have decided to strip down to their trunks and hop in the water. Don't know if that's going to be the right idea here, because they are receiving quite a lot of shell fire from that rattlesnake, and one by one being picked apart in their shoes. Or their sandals, I guess, since it's the beach episode. Yeah, I'm not sure what we're trying to achieve over here. I really don't. These can't really shoot out far enough into the water. I mean, I guess they could, actually. We just must not have vision over there. Take a look-see. This is the... Oh, yeah, of course we're not going to shoot over there. Those are our friendly units. I was wondering, I mean, that's the only thing that came to mind was like maybe you want to shoot out into the ocean, but you wouldn't want to shoot out into the ocean if your friend is the one controlling the ocean, so I really can't understand what's going on over here. Missile ship finally sieging over here, but there's no reason we couldn't move this a little bit closer here and just start hailing away at all of these actually really densely packed together structures over there. Certainly the energy converters we could pop, but then all the advanced solar panels going down as well. Going to be a tremendous boon to the leverage here that the orange team or the orange player has over the ground-based economies he's going up against. Those longbows, man, they are so powerful. They really can reach away for miles and miles. They are aptly named, I would say. Certainly capable of reaching out and delivering a whopping blow. It's always such a heart-crushing moment when you see the first missile start to hit your base, because you know there's essentially nothing you can do. You're just out of time. Ah, interesting. All right, looks like Zamo Guitar is understood, or does understand. There's some English for you. It does understand the meta currently, the tumbleweed meta. Tumbleweeds are extremely potent in the seas. They are capable of doing immense amounts of damage for stupid cheap. I mean, we're looking at 65 metal per. And they are capable of one-shotting a lot of these units if they're self-destructed, if not two-shotting them. Which, I mean, for 65 metal, you're going to trade efficiently against even torpedo launchers, which are like the one thing that trade efficiently in the naval battle. Tumbleweeds are very frustrating to play against. I mean, you can imagine all of them get underneath his base and self-destruct all at once. You're going to be a dead man. Yeah, there's nothing else to say about it. Ymir's commander actually in a little bit of trouble here. The Tumbleweeds are rolling forward. And there goes the static defense. So what I'd love to see is these turn to hold fire, and then you park them underneath everything, and then you self-destruct them to make sure you get the absolute maximum value out of every hit that you get, and you know, you're not wasting anything. 22 minutes into the game, and we're already on our 6th advanced fusion reactor. That is the eco of the gods right here. It's exactly what I was expecting out of Nostradamus. Didn't expect the way we were going to get here, but certainly opening my eyes to the possibilities of how you can get up to a very properly scaled eco on Supreme Straits at the very least. Basically any map that has killer wind speed. I guess the ideal solution is just go for a massive amount of wind turbines. Also spaced out correctly, of course. That's just as important here. These wind turbines are prone to bombing when they're clustered just a little bit too closely together, but you can see here them in 2 by X rows. They're not going to chain react if they should get bombed. Speaking of bombing, though, that would be an excellent option here. Not gone into by the by any of the backline players. There are some torpedo bombers. That's a slightly different class of bomber. Very dangerous still, don't get me wrong, but not exactly threatening to the land-based organisms across the other side of the map here. I wouldn't mind seeing, yeah, just a light bombing run. Get like 4 or 5 bombers together and some scouts and see what you can go poke and prod around and find, especially when you're already breaking units through, like these bulls that have managed to find an entrance and actually could do quite a lot of damage right here. Could take down the T2 lab, could poke at those energy converters here. But there are some Marauder that we're getting ready to run across the map here. They will be revealing themselves and spoiling the push in order to save their friends. Energy converters do go down, as well as the T2 lab here for Bar Toxic, but that is all well and good because at the very least they didn't kill everything on this seaboard here, and those Marauders are going to be able to turn around and start running across the map. Now, where are they going to go? That's always the question here. These medium mines, they're heavy mines. Okay, so heavy mines are going to be great for stopping those Marauder. I think it takes 2 heavy mines in order to stop a Marauder. I could be wrong about that though. All I know is the mines are deviously efficient for those Marauders to step on. Well, efficient for the mine layer. They're quite dangerous for everyone else to have to deal with, but that is the cost of business, I suppose. Tons of torpedo launchers, but again, those torpedo launchers do not trade effectively against those tumbleweeds. Won't matter though, as a capital ship is now produced and is hailing away on all of the production over here. I believe it will pop all of these energy converters, meaning that the metal production here for Gemmo Qatar is now ruined. This player is not rebuilding. Not at the time being, anyway. Needs to get some more build power out, and he does have tons of constructors to do it, but yeah, probably going to want to go for a shield or something to protect themselves from that massive siege of plasma fire from that capital ship over there, the Black Hydra. Okay, I see what we're going for. Nuclear bombers are the strategy here. Makes sense why we went into so much economy. Nuclear bombers are very, very expensive to get into. You can see coming in at 2,200 metal, 46,000 energy. Very, very dense in the metal cost here. Not the end of the world per se, but you certainly need a substantial amount of economy to provide for this. And you can see when he was producing those was actually draining the entire economy, despite having a let's call it an 8 AFUS economy, plus, you know, metal extractors and all that good stuff. Either way, nuclear bombers are set to fire at will, so they will just shoot at whatever they can find here. They're, I mean, they're tough. they're pretty tough to shoot down. You see the T1 fighter struggling a bit. They'll eventually be able to shoot them down, but yeah, they're a tough class of fighter. I feel like we should probably incorporate a couple of fighters into this mix, or at the very least, maybe Markiv could send his fighters forward next time to try and prevent those nuclear bombers. But yeah, if that's what the strategy we're going to go for, I have a feeling that there's going to be a much needed increase in anti-air production from the blue team. I think they realized it too. I believe they said it in chat. They're going to need way more anti-air defense. Marauders breaking their way in. There was some T2 walls set up, but the Marauders can just shoot those apart. It's one reason why those walls aren't used all too often. They sort of feel like they don't buy you very much. Here they bought quite a lot of time, but it just wasn't enough, as Mustard's commander will be in quite a lot of terror here, quite a lot of pain. Trouble, I think, is the word that I was reaching for, but couldn't find. That was a decoy commander. This is real commander. And yeah, this one's also looking like it's in trouble. It will pop, taking down all of the build power that was protecting and repairing and guarding all the advanced fusion reactors over here. He will take out this advanced fusion reactor on this side, and I think that will be all she wrote for Mustard here. Getting a whopping 3% on every one of these. Capital ship firing away, but almost killed the Marauder there. That will pop, and that will be the lime green player taken out of commission here. Wonder what we're going to go into in the back line. Right now it's advanced fusion reactors. All the metal in the world is going into pumping out more and more of these advanced fusion reactors. We have plenty of energy converters. We do have a lot of T1 aircraft here, eating up all of the T1 bots. Okay, it's good recycling. Whatever metal you have, you might as well use it. Going into some more advanced energy converters over here. Trying to keep that balance safe. The front line is kind of caved in here for the red team, so a big play needs to happen soon. There is T3 out and about here. These Razorbacks are quite deadly, and they certainly could pose a threat on the front line, but that is a lot of sharpshooters. Certainly enough sharpshooters here for SkyAxe that, yeah, if those Razorbacks step a little bit too far forward, those sharpshooters are going to quickly melt them down before those Razorbacks even have a chance to push in there. One more Marauder trying, but it will get blasted down by a sustained pulsar beam right on its chest. That will be all she wrote for the Marauder aggression on the right-hand side of the map, at least for now. There's a few more that are maybe thinking about moving on in over there, but they will not find hardly anything to report back, except maybe a couple of metal extractor spots, I suppose. Amir has gone into a experimental gantry. I was looking for an amphibious gantry, but it is an experimental gantry over here. Land-based experimental gantry, that makes sense. Go into that proper T2 economy off of shore. Very, very powerful stuff, and once you can leverage that naval victory into some sort of push over here, you're going to be in a great position. Now, there's not really any defense. I mean, not to discredit you, Light Laser Tower, I'm sure you're going to try your very best, but this is a lot of Marauder that are all heading over in this direction, and I believe these are going to have an easy time sweeping through whatever's over here. Nostradamus needs to get some defenses out on the field immediately. Well, or somebody else does. I mean, anybody could do it, but yeah, they need to address this. Yep. Marauder are gathering in the storm, waiting oh so patiently for their time of reckoning. Scout planes are being used here. Let's take a look at the orange player's vision here. Well, the red team's vision in general, I suppose. You can see that they're vaguely aware of where some of these players are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish players. They still, well, I guess that kind of reveals who's back here as well, but either way, that is a nice little scout right there. At least they're vaguely aware of what they're going up against. It's a lot of lightning towers. Not bad, just a lot. Hero Thor breaking in. It looks like there's a lot of units here, but it really is just a lot of T2. We don't have a lot of T3 on this right, or on this left-hand side, rather. Marauders would be a great option here to go up against the Thor. Razorbacks would be decent as well. Nothing, however, is not going to be the right move. And Bartoxic is moving his commander forward, realizing the threat and marching the commander on in. Does have plenty of energy production at the moment in order to sustain a cloak here, and so I think this will be mopped up with no issues. Down goes the Thor, the Hero Thor that was pushing in there. But just in time is the Marauders rushing on through here. A couple of them scratched up. I do believe that's going to be the Light Laser Tower's work. Excellent EMP bombing there. Wow, that was magnificent. EMP bombers taking out more than half of those Marauders, shutting off that push effectively here. That's going to turn off quite a lot of these Marauders. Shut them down quite quickly here. The more they group up, the easier it is for those EMP bombers to get a effective shot on them, of course. And now you can see them shutting down quite a few of them, yeah. Really, really lovely stuff by Marquise there. Getting those EMP bombers out just in time. Commanders are going to be running around like mad trying to clean this up. Or nuclear bombers, rather, are going to be dropping their nuclear payload on whatever they can. Danger close right here to that advanced fusion reactor, but I think casualties are just going to have to be accepted because there's not really any other way that we're going to address this. I think those Marauders are trying to bait those nuclear missiles into the advanced fusion reactor, but it just isn't going to happen. All said and done, what an excellent hold right there. 4 or 5 different players all contributing to shut down that push. That is exactly what I love to see. That is some key teamwork right there. Very, very nicely done. Love to see that. Meanwhile, this Epoch over here has continued to shell away at the base of Maverick. Yes, Maverick. Enduring, however, are the plasma shields. 3 of them, I believe, is going to be enough to deflect permanently those plasma balls. It won't feel like it, but it will essentially balance itself out eventually. And now the nuclear bombers are starting to get feisty. They're looking for any opportunity they can to pick apart any units that are vulnerable to their nuclear fire. And sure, the naval units are certainly one such thing. Fighters are finally pulled to try and deal with these. Eventually those nuclear bombers will be shot down, but man, you gotta be scared seeing those out on the map. Now you can see, wow, talk about a rainbow again. Nostradamus is going to go ahead and give out a couple of advanced fusion reactors and some energy converters to all of his teammates, making sure that they have the adequate power to fund all of their projects and good necessary and unnecessary evils here. That is a lot of build power right there. 65 construction aircraft with 11 advanced aircraft. That is more than enough to build some really sophisticated stuff. Could even go for a Ragnarok, I suppose. We've got a lot of T1 constructors coming up here. I wonder if we're just making build power for the sake of build power's sake. That's a sentence and a half there for you. Eating up these windmills now. They've served their purpose and their time has come. Okay, so we're handing out build power to all of our friends here. Nicely done. That's, you know, it's not one of those things that you think about often as like a a thing that you might need in the end game. But yeah, when you see somebody whose base has been ravaged here, giving them a whole bunch of build power is going to really help them get back into the game quickly. That's so nicely done. Just something else to consider whenever you're playing in the backline. One more way to be generous, I suppose, handing out portable build power. Just one more thing you can tack on top. Nostradamus always bringing out some innovative strats. Like, it's not like it's unimaginable, right? But it's something we don't see very often, and I think incorporated into the game a little bit more, and it's going to be devastatingly effective. Another big Marauder run by is coming over here. I'd be so terrified of doing a Marauder run by if I had just been completely negated, as if my push had essentially done nothing here. Looks like our hot pink player is going to manage to claw themselves back into this here. That build power helping out immensely to get this advanced fusion reactor finished up so that they can get into proper T2 production here. Need to get some more advanced energy converters up and running. Wouldn't mind seeing a mine layer come over here and just heavy mine the absolute living hell out of this entire area here. I mean, you could go as far back as this area. Like, you could really lay a lot of mines in this entire spot right here. And the Marauders are going to have a really hard time running through that. I mean, maybe one wave will crash against it, but they might get it to here-ish at most. Like, this will be where the last Marauder dies. And then you just go remine that area. Like, you just go remine it again, and then you're set, and they're not going to be able to push into that. Nobody would want to push into that. Of course, a Juno would be able to shut it down, so it would only work once or twice, but still, it might be an effective way to give yourself an economic boost. Looks like the blue team lost a player over here. I believe this was the lime green player, and that is going to be really unfortunate for Amir, who now has taken over this spot. Yeah, that means Amir is now in the Northern Sea and the Southern Sea in charge of guarding the flank and aggressing the fronts here. That's yeah, that's not a fun spot to be in. I've been there myself. Not always the most entertaining. It's a lot of dragons. We're looking at a solid 11 dragons out on the field by now. Probably enough to kill capital ships, certainly enough to kill these anti-air ships before they shoot the dragons down. Dragons are immensely, immensely powerful, but you can see this is 56,000 metal worth of dragons. That's just, I mean, to put it into perspective, let's take a look at the cost of a Calamity here. 61,000 for a Calamity. I thought my math was correct. Yeah, that's about the same cost. 10,000 less than the cost of a Calamity. That's a lot of dragons. Yep. Blast down the anti-air first. There we go. Fighters are sweeping in. They're going to be able to shoot down a couple of them. At least one. Two. 3 goes down. Looking for a 4th. There it is. 5, 6, 7, and all of them are going to fall out of the sky. Very nicely done. Sort of a slow reaction speed there on our aerial player, despite him being the one controlling the dragons. Certainly would have liked to see a little bit more fighter coverage there just to try and preserve those bad boys. We did just lose almost a Calamity's worth of metal floating out into the ocean, or falling out into the ocean, more like. I have not failed to notice that there is a little bit of a cheeky thing going on over here. We do have some hovercraft labs getting ready, up and running to start. Well, I'm guessing these are going to be a spam factory, just based on the layout of this, with a few construction turrets and loads of factories. I'm guessing it's going to be spamming out goons that are going to try and roll up the shore here and try and do a little bit of damage. Nostradamus going for quite a lot of build power. Wonder what the move is here. Are we doing a Nostradamus classic? Are we gonna start building the beamer turrets, or are we going to go for something else? That's the question. I am not sure. It's a lot of T1 constructors here. We disinclude those, and disinclude these. 411 T1 constructors. Some quick maths, that's, yep, a shit ton of build power. More build power than you could conceivably ever need. And yet we are wielding it with a light touch, a delicate touch. What on earth are we up to? Would love to see the orange player transitioning into something a little more substantial here. Does have that T3 lab up, so maybe I'm speaking a little bit out of context. Yeah, you know, I guess he does have a couple of Thors on the front line. Does have those capital ships raining a hail of fire onto the Lavender player over here. Not bad, but not the most efficient use of metal, I would argue. Vanguard up here are quite nice. They are sort of an anchor point, right? Anything that pushes in is going to have to deal with their oppressive fire, and it is really hard to justify pushing in. Well, looks like we had a little bit of a pause there. Really difficult to justify pushing into those vanguards whenever they're defending an area like that, just because of how tremendously powerful their snozzle weapon is. The goon factory is finally up and running here, and you can see that with 7 factories all pumping out goons at the same time, we are able to put out a massive amount of T1 hovercraft. Sort of a oxymoron there. It's a devastating amount of T1 hovercraft in the sense that the T1 hovercraft themselves not devastating, but the sheer volume of T1 hovercraft, yeah, that could have potential here. Marauders are going to be accompanying all these. Oh, I fear for the build power here, as a lot of those anti-air missiles do connect, and some of those builders do fall. A couple of them are going to be able to evacuate here. Looks like 28 of them. They were so stacked up, I couldn't really tell how many there were there, but yeah, 28 of them escaping. I mean, that's no shy number right there. And again, the EMP bombers come in for the massive EMPs here. There's just nothing you can do about that. EMP bombers so powerful at shutting down all of these pushes. Just so good. Marauders were trying to walk into this left-hand side, but Bartoxic learned his lesson and moved over his commander to make sure that those Marauders would have a really rough time. Well, if this one could pop the build power, it could be really powerful, but yeah, with 2 shield generators, it's going to be quite difficult. Gonna have to stand essentially right on top of him there. Yeah, those EMP bombers, I do believe, are going to shut down essentially all of the aggression over there. Meanwhile, there was a push on the right-hand side from, who's this? Bartoxic produced all of these cataphracts here. The dragons are going to be the thing to shut all of this down, and I really like that. I think that's definitely a good play. However, the orange fighters are getting a nice little lineup on these dragons. They're going to shoot at least 2 of them down here. Potentially even more, though. Raven says, my strat is working. Have a better PC. Mwah. Certainly one option, yeah. Nostradamus making quite a lot of T2 fighters here. Wonder what the play is going to be. Could certainly just go for air superiority and go for a massive bomber run. That usually works. Very, very potent strategy. It takes a little while to amass, but I think right now things are semi-stable on the front lines. There are quite a lot of Thors that are looking to push forward here, but I guess they are changing their minds as they turn around and start to run backwards. This is sort of a beautiful multicolored array of advanced fusion reactors here. Let me get a clip of this. It's a pretty rainbow. Oh, I see. All right. It doesn't get much more Nostradamus than this. Not to spoil anything for anybody, but I think we all saw it coming at this point. The T2 Armada transports are going to be coming up and running. He did make those fighters, of course, to protect these, but when they're in volume, they really don't even need protection. There's just so many of them, and don't forget, that EMP beam on their face, yeah, it can paralyze air units. It's not something you often think about, but yeah, they can paralyze air units, and if you do so, well, you're going to be in a really rough position when all of your fighters are sitting on the ground while a bunch of transports fly on over to your base, dropping down a lot of static defense. I'm looking forward to this quite a lot. Now, that is a lot of platypus. We are moving in for the aggression here. There is quite a few of those hovercraft, again, available, but those goons are not going to stand a chance against these platypus. Those are a fully fledged T2 bot there, so they're going to pack quite a punch. Tick spam here, trying to reveal anything that they can. Cataphracts coming in from a bit of an interesting angle, of course, using their hovercraft heritage to aggress from the ocean side rather than straight up on the isthmus here. Do I like this engagement? I mean, the Cataphract are great because they can ignore the shield. That's certainly not to be disqualified here. The Cataphract themselves are a little bit disheartening. They're the only sustained laser weapon that I believe Cortex has. I guess there's technically the heat ray from the Juggernaut, but it's not really sustained. It just fires for a little while. This feels like it's truly sustained, similarly to the Pulsar, right, where it just fires for a good solid second or so. Oh, we do have the turrets grabbed. How many do we have here? 140 or so transports. Light work for a guy like Nostradamus here as he picks up all those transports, loads them into those T2 aircraft, now producing nuclear bombers in mass. Draining the metal quite quickly, of course, as a 15,000 metal per second drain. Yeah, that's gonna plummet your metal production pretty quickly here. Nostradamus almost running out of room, as there's just effectively nothing, no room left for any big expansion back here. Where did those fighters go? I guess those fighters were given out to all these teammates here, because a lot of these players don't have air labs. Red player has an air lab, but the pink player certainly doesn't. The yellow player doesn't. So yeah, I guess those fighters must have just been handed out to all of the players. And I think, well, if those fighters are controlled properly, they certainly should be able to get a nasty little trade in here, enough to allow this Nostradamus to work. Again, that is 140 transport planes. That's more than enough to do a substantial amount of damage. Could certainly take out one player, maybe even 2 or 3. Nuclear bombers included in this is so funny though, because they're gonna just take away essentially everything anyways. So it's not exactly like the transports are even necessary here. But I guess those bombers are going to allow you to shut down all of the early anti-air, right? So those bombers are going to survive the first couple rounds of flak, and they will be able to bomb it out of existence, allowing even more of your Nostradamus transports in order to fly overhead and drop their payload. I want to switch to Nostradamus cam. Oh, where did he go? There he is. Player camera. Gonna unload over here. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so he's choosing to unload over here. I'm gonna turn this off. I'm getting a little bit nauseous looking at it from that perspective. Okay, he decides to drop all the beamer turrets over here. I'm not sure exactly why. Oh, I see exactly why. Ah, we've decided to go for the 40 or the 30 second. Holy crap, how that was 10 seconds at the 50% mark. Does that mean that was like, I mean, that had to be like 30 seconds of build time to put up an entire calamity. What in God's name? I guess that's what we needed the build power for here. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Beamer turrets helping to keep everything alive here, and the calamity is thrown up. What on earth? Offensive calamity is built here, and it's going to start firing into the backline immediately. Has to rotate around. Always impossible to tell what direction the calamity is actually facing. I see why we built the beamer turrets and put them in such a location. It was to stop any units from aggressing over here, as now the calamity is up and running. The blue team is probably wondering what the hell just happened. That's effectively the Nostradamus drop, and they dropped the King Daddy of static defense as static offense. What on earth? That is the craziest play I think we've seen of the year. That is absolutely wild. Overall, really bad airplay, by the way. Good contribution here, SkyAxe, making sure to let your team know in their dying moments how unfortunate they, how terribly they played, how unfortunate the air support was here. In all reality, you didn't stand a chance when you let Nostradamus build up all those wind turbines in the early game. He should have been bombed into oblivion for that, and that was just not what happened here. There goes all the build power in the back, all of the energy converters, essentially everything. The beamers are going to start firing up into the air. The dragons no longer have power to fire all of their beams. The beamers trying to whittle them down. It's quite funny to see beamers working on dragons, but I guess it works here. Fighter is going to be a much better option to solve that issue. But those dragons aren't even really a threat. I mean, they don't even have enough power here to fire their schnozzle cannons, and they will all go down very, very quickly as these T2 fighters do eventually jump on top of them. Raven wondering what in the hell just happened, asking if he did build it. Indeed he did. The Nostradamus offensive calamity drop. That's wild. That is absolutely wild. Calamity, of course, has a massive range, so I expect to be seeing this thing fire well into the backlines here. I'm trying to select it for you so I can show you that its range does encompass essentially every base that is currently out on the map. Nobody was prepared for this. Nobody could have prepared for this. There we go. Calamity gonna finally target down this base over here. Will pop the advanced fusion reactors. That is going to be a quick and decisive victory here for the red team. The blue team is just grappling with the defeat at this point. Very little in the way of economy left here as this long-range offensive static defense turret fires into the backline here, starting to tear apart all of these advanced fusion reactors. This mountain, the only saving grace for Eternal Rain here. Eternal Rain, well, we could just target over here at this advanced fusion reactor, but maybe doesn't have vision over on that side of the map. Yeah, doesn't quite have vision over there. I think once vision is gained, he'll probably change the targeting here for a slightly more effective rally. Will it matter? Eternal Rain, the last player in the game. Down goes his base. Is there a last commander out on the field? Looks like there's just one waiting to be sniped here. That is a absurd strategy. I cannot believe that worked. I guess it's understandable why we needed all of that build power all of a sudden. Also makes sense why there were so many storages built up here. I do notice that there's several thousand in energy storage and several thousand less, but still a tremendous amount in metal storage. What a wild way to win the game. Always bringing us something fresh, always bringing us something cool. Good luck trying to imitate this one, because that is a masterpiece, a master class, if you will, in how to properly eco-greed your absolute heart out until you get into something like a killer move. Not to undercut, by the way, the EMP bombers, the nuclear bombers, but yeah, look at that eco lead. The graphs tell it all exactly as it was. Nostradamus securing a fantastic victory. 20 true skill is way too low for this hero. Wow, what a treat. Absolute candy. Lovely to see. I sure hope you enjoyed watching because, well, frankly, I know I sure did. It was a joy to see this unfold in live action for us on the big screen. Be sure to submit your replays in the Brightworks Discord. The link will be down below in case you do manage to pull something like this off. I want to see it. I want to watch it. I want to show it to the world. Thanks a ton for watching. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next video. Peace out, folks.